is a dedicated father to his son Xylon, and a Peekskill native who also lived in Germany and Las Vegas, Nevada, while his father served in the Air Force. Andre understands and respects military service, the contributions of a church community, and strong public schools. Andre graduated from Peekskill High School in 2002 and is a millennial entrepreneur, owner, and president of New Moves Entertainment, founded in 2010. He brings an understanding of arts and small business as an economic generator in the new economy. He believes in developing strong relationships with public schools, businesses, as well as county, state, and federal agencies. As a skilled collaborator and community builder, he knows the importance of collaboration and the power of partnerships in building a vital community with opportunity for all, especially youth, teens, and young adults. Andre works tirelessly in efforts to open doors of opportunity for the children and millennials, as well as create connection and well-deserved respect to the elders and seniors. As an innovator of original programs in music, an educator of those most in need of new directions, with successful community fundraising and organizing skills, he brings new ideas for partnering with other municipalities and organizations. Andre will continue to bring fresh perspectives to entrepreneurship, innovation, community engagement, collaboration, and partnership. By understanding the desired role of government in the lives of the millennial generation, Noodle overall is a man with many talents that doesn't hesitate to show and share. Whether through music, politics, or just walking down the street, he carries himself gracefully with love, respect, and determination for creating a better world, starting with the city of Peekskill. Andre was elected mayor to Peekskill last January. So without further ado, I present to you our keynote speaker for today's event, the Mayor Honorable Andre Rainey.
Good afternoon, church. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just to confirm, yes, he did say Noodle. That was my nickname, okay? A lot of people hear that name like, did he say Noodle? Was that an accident? First, I want to say good afternoon, wonderful people, and happy Black History Month. Before I begin, I want to say thank God. To God be the glory. I want to thank my great-grandmother of 95 years who's here with me today as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please give her a round of applause. 95 years young. But I thank my great-grandmother and my family for instilling in me the faith and guidance. And I also want to thank my pastor, Reverend Gary Coulter, for bringing me back home. I also want to thank the entire United Methodist Church family, President Brown, and the congregation for welcoming me to speak this afternoon. And if there are any veterans present today, I want to thank you too. There's a lot on my heart, and I'm anxious to get it out, so I thank you for this opportunity. I stand before you today as the second African-American mayor in the city of Peekskill, the great city of Peekskill, also the youngest mayor the city has ever seen. I want to be honest and transparent as I've always been, and I'll let you know, if it weren't for God, I'm a firm believer I wouldn't be here today. I also want to tell you, when God steps in, nothing can stop you. Importantly, I want to remind you that no one can be a better you than you. We're all special in our own way, and God's placed things in our lives for us to deal with and for us to be responsible with. And each generation needs to take responsibility. This is part of the reason why I'm here today. A little background about myself. I was a youth advocate in the community. I did a lot of work for the children, fundraisers, local events, and things to help make money for the youth that need it, whether it's for after-school programming, school programming, youth borough programming, and so on and so forth. I put out a song in 2009 called Peekskill My City, just to represent and be proud of the city where I'm from as a hip hop artist. And from that year, a lot of the local elected officials, local Peekskill Democrats, had told me that I should run for office one day. For about 6 years straight, I said no, I didn't do politics. Then I was approached one day. I was given some information about how city is run, how government is run, how policy is complete. And I said, I'm a little interested now. And I'll never forget, a lady came up to me while I was in the Kylie Youth Center right here in Peekskill. And she told me, she heard that I was planning on running for office. And I said, I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure yet, and I'm thinking about it. She told me, if you're gonna run, you can't run with those Democrats in Peekskill. They haven't done nothing for Peekskill. They prevented everything from happening in Peekskill. They stopped everything that we could possibly think of in Peekskill. And I said, but this is Peekskill. Like, we're 2 miles big. It doesn't matter who I run with. It doesn't matter. She said, well, if you run with the local Democrats, I want to let you know now I'm going to have to ruin you. I said, let me call them right now. I'm running. It's going down. That was my introduction to politics in Peekskill. Before that moment, I wasn't sure if this is what I wanted to do. I ran for council that year, and I was successful at winning. A few years later, I decided that I was going to challenge the mayor because he kind of made a similar statement while I was on the council. And I chose to run, and I was successful, and I'm here today as your mayor of the great city of Peekskill. Now, my message today is a few things that I hope to leave you with. The first thing I'm going to talk about is recognizing who you are. Second thing I'm going to talk about today is creating the narrative. And the third thing I'm going to talk about today is being accountable for this and the next generation. Recognize who you are. By a show of hands, how many of you are proud of who you are? Just raise your hand. You can clap too, that's fine. I ain't mad at you. Proud of your skin color, proud of your hair, proud of your lips, proud of your appearance. How many of you are proud about what you think about, who you spend time with, and where you work at? How many of you realize no matter where you are in life, you can always do better? Yes. How many of you realize no matter what you're doing in life, you can always get more? Let's talk history. Our people struggled and fought for everything. We were stolen from our homes, from our land, forced to be slaves and had no education, no freedom, no rights, nothing. And respect for our people wasn't even thought of. When I realized a 35-year-old man could lose his entire family, can work endless hours on a plantation, be whipped for not obeying another man, how can I not be proud of who I am at 35? Yeah. When I realized a 35-year-old man could be running for his life, dark in the woods, dying for freedom, killed in the middle of the night just for wanting an opportunity to regain what was stolen from him, how can I not be proud of who I am? When I realized a 35-year-old man can ask for respect, ask for fair treatment and education, and be hosed down with water hoses, attacked with rocks and stones, and even hung, shot, or attacked by dogs, how can I not be proud of who I am? You see, they tell us these horrific stories, and we say, man, our people went through hell and back. We went through a lot. We were stolen. We were slaves. We were poor. We were left for dead. We were raped. We were lynched, stripped of our rights, and we didn't leave here. It's a horror story, but it's the strongest story of strength from any culture in this country. I'm proud of who I am because 100 years ago, a man my age couldn't read and write. Now a man my age is reading and writing the policies that you have to live by day to day. I'm proud of who I am because 100 years ago, a woman who looked like me couldn't even apply for a job. Now a woman my age who looks like me can own her own business that you'll be shopping at from day to day. We have to know who we are so we can realize that the fight is not over. It's just been hidden. What does he mean when he says hidden? We're no longer slaves. We were slaves. And to be free, we had to fight for that, didn't we? We're no longer fighting for civil rights in some places, at least. However, in order to get there, we had to fight for that, didn't we? Now we aren't slaves. Now we can get an education. Now we can eat in your restaurants and play in your NBAs and your NFLs and your NHLs. We're comfortable. There's no more fight unless you know who you are. We have to continue this fight, but it's different now. We're not slaves that work on the plantations anymore. We just work for the slave owner's grandchildren now. The fight is to get off that plantation in 2019 and own your own. We're not fighting for civil rights against the policymakers. We're allowing them to come out and tell us what they're going to do for us, so we put them in power. The fight is to get in position to make decisions for the people that you represent. The fight isn't over, it's just hidden. We have to know who we are to understand that. And importantly, we have to know that reading our history, the Martin Luther Kings, the W.E.B. Du Bois, the Frederick Douglasses, the Harriet Tubmans, the Malcolm X's, do you realize if we get our act together, Black history can be the greatest success story ever told? I know who I am and what I came from. We went from being stripped of our homes, taken from our land. In 2019, what's the translation? That would mean stripped from our comfort zone. I'm talking to my generation. We were forced to be slaves and live under control of the man. In 2019, what's the translation? That means we're forced to work hard in jobs that we don't want. I'm talking to my generation. We were given freedom at one point with no rights. In 2019, the translation, that means we're given opportunity with no funding or direction. Speaking to my generation. Finally, we got what we call fair treatment. We got freedom. We got our rights. In 2019, that translates to a fair playing field. So look at the timeline. From having nothing to running a city. From having nothing to running a law firm. From being a general manager of an NBA team, owning a successful juice bar right here in Peekskill, Black women-owned businesses, even being a president of our United States. Our history is the greatest history in this country if this generation realizes the fight we need to take on. When I walk into a meeting with other mayors and legislators and I realize I'm the only one under 40, I'm the only one with dark skin, and I'm the only one with that white or gray hair, I say, thank God. I say, thank Harry. I say, thank Martin Luther King. I say, thank Malcolm X. Thank Muhammad Ali. Because what you stood for and fought for made me who I am. And I know who I am because of you and because God gave me vision. He put me here to reach those of us who wouldn't normally listen when a mayor is talking. I know the conversations that need to happen. I know the future needs to know what's going on. And I have to know this is who I am, no matter what you say about me, no matter what you've heard about me, no matter what you feel about me. I know who I am because God stepped in and told me, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Stay on course and remind the people of their history and how strong your people have been. If we can show the same strength we did when we had to, right now, we'd be a force to reckon with. You have to know who you are. I say create the narrative. They say there's a separation of church and state, and I said this when I was in Arizona. Have you ever been to a state without a church in it? I don't think so. I don't need to elaborate on that too much, but I will just a little bit. I know so many of us feel that we're religious and we're pastors and we're deacons and we can't really speak on politics. I'm going to change that narrative today. The purpose of the statement of the separation of church and state was made to keep the state out of the church's business, not keep the church out of the state's business. Please remember that. Don't hide behind religion. Keep the church out of their business, but don't hide behind religion while our people are suffering. Nothing should stop anyone from getting involved in what's going on in your local government. Nothing. 100 years ago, they didn't want to allow us to go to church. They didn't think it was okay for us to be in church, and we had to fight for that. We've come this far, and we don't want to get involved for what we feel is right. Something's wrong. That That doesn't mean that we have to make everyone in office become a member of a church. We don't have to make everyone in office become Christian, become Baptist. It's not the purpose. But what I'm saying is those of us in church, step up to the plate. Let's step in and let's pray for these people. Let's pray for those wearing blue, policing our communities every day. Let's pray for those wearing hoodies with Skittles in their pockets. Let's pray for those with mental illness. Let's pray for those who feel neglected. Let's pray for those who kneel during the national anthem. And let's publicly pray for those people who need us. Now is the time for all of us to let God step in. Yes. He uses us to get in their lives. Let's let God step in. Change the narrative. Every time you talk about a young black man, sometimes you just think negative. Why? That's their narrative. We need to promote the progress, promote the people, promote the positive, promote the power of our people. Because again, the fight isn't necessarily physical anymore. It's not fighting to get out of that slave plantation. Now it's psychological. If every time I see the bad news on Channel 12, or News 12, and yes, I say News 12 because I'll tell you a story about News 12. We had a My Brother's Keeper initiative here in the city of Peekskill where we created it's an initiative created by Barack Obama where we help mentor young men of color. We guide them, we give them guidance. And we called News 12, we emailed News 12, and News 12 didn't show up. There's a fight right outside of Peekskill courts after a court hearing, and News 12 must have called my phone 12 times for a statement. That's the narrative. You watch Channel 12 News. That's your narrative. When every time you hear about a rapper that talks about drugs and guns and shows all of this money that he made over this nonsense, that's the narrative that our young men take. How many of these young men are exposed to black business owners? How often do you see the news showing a successful story of a black man that came out of our communities? How often did you see Barack Obama on the news compared to this new guy that's up there doing work right now? Let's create history by changing the narrative. You can't stand these young black men because they're wearing these skinny jeans and listening to this crazy rap music. Well, I love those black men because you know what that means? That means they're paying attention to something. Give them something to pay attention to. Give them opportunity. The narrative is now we need public housing for our people. Yes, we do. But let's change the narrative. We need good paying jobs for our people so we don't have to rely on public housing all the time. Give us something nice. My Uncle Troy used to tell me that your mind is like a glass and you choose what you fill it up with. So let's say water is positivity. How much water is in your glass? Let's say Hennessy is negativity. How much Hennessy is in your glass? Let's say iced tea is God, is faith. How much iced tea is in your glass? What I'm realizing, let's say vodka is racism. How much vodka is in your glass? Kool-Aid is family. How much Kool-Aid is in your glass? What I'm realizing is a lot of people don't seem to keep that water in that glass. They'll pour a little bit of that vodka in there. They'll pour a little bit of that Hennessy in there. And what you don't realize is your mind doesn't just blow up and get bigger. It stays the same size. So you got to be careful what you put in your mind. Be careful what you put in your glass. Let's talk about our history, our black history narrative. We need to embrace it. And the narrative is no longer our people went through struggles. The narrative is the strength of these people brought us to where we are today, generation after generation. The fight in 35 years from now, when you talk about Bill Gates, I want to be able to read about Jerome Gates.
Yes.
There's more for us out there. We just have to channel our attention to what we're becoming and change what the oppressors want us to believe and focus on. I have black men coming to council meetings, looking me right in my face and saying, black men can't do nothing. We don't never get an opportunity to get nowhere. We ain't gonna never be nothing. And I look around and say, ain't I the mayor? Didn't I get elected? Who can't do nothing? You can't do nothing with that mentality. We aren't exactly where we deserve to be, but we are far from where we were. There was a quote that I applied in my life that I like to share with everybody. The quote as follows: "You don't drown by falling underwater. You drown when you don't realize you have the ability to get above it." So finally, let's talk about the accountability for the next generation. To my grandparents, my grandmother's here too, I love you, Grandma. I speak this to you especially. Please, don't allow your grandchildren to grow up not knowing what your grandparents went through. God has blessed me enough to still share moments with my 95-year-old great-grandmother. She was around through a lot of the hard times of our people. And I was able to introduce her to our New York State governor a few months ago. That was one of the highlights of my career. Just knowing what she's seen, standing next to her grandson, she's proud. Knowing something like this being possible to my great-grandmother was as impossible as the internet was to some of us 30 years ago. We still, what is the internet? Email. What is that even about? I take pride in what I've become because of her experience, because of her wisdom, because of her story. And I want to do more so it can be easier for my children to succeed. One of the greatest things about my grandmother is she always reminds me, put God first. I did, I do, and I always will. I want to take a moment to thank all of our leaders, our heroes and sheroes, and our unsung heroes as well, who has helped make Black history great history, because we are great people. Talking about accountability to my generation, we're in control now, and we must step up to the plate. It's not about us, it's about those after us. If we can at least get in high positions in different organizations, let's inspire those after us to own these organizations. If we can at least be that rapper or singer that sold millions of records and toured the world, let's inspire them to be the owners of these businesses and these companies that dictate what the artists are actually going to be able to do. If we can play on the NBA teams and the NFL teams, etc., let's inspire them to own these teams that coach us and tell us what we can do. I tell my son now at 5 years old, I want you to be a great player. I want you to be a great basketball player. Go out there and shoot a three. I can really make a layup. Go out there and do what you got to do. But I want you to understand the game so you can run the team rather than just run up and down that court. That's the fight that we have to take on. If we can get in positions elected as mayors and council persons, I ask the next generation to try to be a city manager, because he makes the decisions at the end of the day. Remember who you are so you know what you can become, and focus on what's hidden. The news, the rap music, the negativity of the African American man and woman, that's not enough. Let's look at the success stories, and let's make success stories. Let's be accountable. Let's get people who are us to be in places and positions where those who don't understand, where those who don't respect or know who we are, will actually take control. We've come a long way. And one of my favorite quotes is, we didn't get this far just to get this far. Happy Black History Month. Be proud of the progress and don't let up the fight. Don't let up the fight anymore. Our destiny is in our hands and our ancestors deserve our success. God bless you all. God bless Black History Month, Black History Year, and Black history as a whole. And it is becoming the greatest history story thus far. And God bless one of the greatest cities in New York, y'all. Peekskill, New York. Thank you.